Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kimberly, and today I'm going to show you how to join your daisy granny square onto the main body in order for you to make a blanket. Okay, so you should have completed all of the squares that you needed for the size blanket that you wanted. In my case, I did 48 squares because I want an adult size blanket, but a smaller number of squares will obviously give you a smaller blanket, maybe more of a baby size. So it's whatever you want to do. Okay, so let's get started. First, we want to get our granny squares prepared. You should have already woven in all of your ends. If you haven't, that's fine. I just tend to like to go and weave in as I go along. That way I'm not overwhelmed at the very end. First, we need to determine what is the front side and what is the back side of our daisy motif. Okay, so your front side should look very well defined. All of these stitches should look quite defined on this side. These are your treble crochets, your double crochets. They look quite defined. When you flip it over, they're a little bit more, I don't know, jiggly or something. They just don't look like these stitches here, just don't look as defined as they do on this other side. So this would be your right side, okay? All right, so I've already begun stitching mine together. So what you want to do is you want to put wrong side to wrong side, okay? So this is the wrong side and the wrong side. Let me zoom you in just a bit. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to lay these wrong sides together. And you want to match up your corners with your chain 2 space, and you match it up with the other side, chain 2 space in that corner, okay? You're going to use whatever color that you want to use to make this join. And this is going to be a raised join, just to give it a little bit more pizzazz or texture, whatever you want to call it. This is just simply a single crochet, but you can use any color that you want to. I chose to use the yellow. I had a lot of yellow left over, but you can use whatever color your last row ended up being, or like mine is white. I could have used white, I could have used green, I could have used purple. It doesn't matter, it's just all up to you. First thing we want to do is we want to get our hook, and it should be the same hook that you used to put this together, and the color yarn that you've chosen to do this this portion with, and always good to have your little scissors handy. Okay, all right, so the first thing we want to do is put our slip knot onto our hook like we've done before. All right, snug it up on there. All right, leave a little wiggle room, and detach it. Starting on the right side, you want to get your two corners together. Can you see what I got going there? You want to insert your hook to the front side of this one, through the back side, and out the front side again, okay? So you see where I've got the two on here? All right, and you want to replace your slip knot back on your hook, just like we've done before, okay? Hold on to the tail so you don't pull it all the way through, and you're going to pull it through, keeping that little knot to the back. You want to yarn over and pull it through, and that attaches. Okay, so that's your slip knot, got it attached. Now we want to make our first single crochet into this space. So you don't yarn over, sorry. You're going to insert your hook back into that space, yarn over, pull it back up, 2 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and pull through 2. Try not to make these too tight. If you do them very tight, your blanket, the squares won't lay down flat. They'll tend to want to pucker up underneath your stitches. So try to keep these snug, but not too tight. Now you can see a little better. All right, so what we want to do is we want to find the stitches, each one of these stitches across. So the very first double crochet right here, the top of that V should be right above it, okay? You want to insert your hook under both of those strands of yarn. So your V is sitting on top of your hook. You want to find the corresponding V or double crochet on this other side. Get this stuff out of the way. Okay, so here is your double crochet on the other side with the V. Can you see that? The V is right here. Sometimes you have to angle it back and forth until you can find it, but this is your little V right here. So you want to stick your hook up underneath both of those strands and pull through, and go through. All right, so you should have 4 strands on your hook, and you can see, I hope you can see that. Here's the little V from the front one and the little V from the back one. Okay, so we want to yarn over, pull it through all 4 of those little strands until you have 2 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and pull it through, and that makes your first single crochet. Okay, now we're going to go to this next stitch here. We're going to find the V on top, insert our hook underneath that V, find the corresponding V. See, here's our first double crochet, here's our second, so the V is right here. It's right there, okay? We want to insert our hook underneath that. We want to yarn over and pull through. So now we have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through. Okay, all right, let's find another one. Here's our 3rd stitch. Okay, here's the V that corresponds with that stitch. Insert your hook under that one. Tilt your project forward. Here's your third double crochet and the corresponding V stitch that goes on top of it. Insert your hook under both. You want to keep this string here, your working yarn. You want to keep it across the front so that you can yarn over. If you have it in the back and you yarn, it makes yarning over kind of difficult and you're having to go around the wrong way. So just as you're working along, just kind of keep it in front of your hook, kind of at that angle. Grab it, also keeping your hook in a downward position will help you slide through all of that yarn without snagging. Okay, we'll do that again in a moment. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and pull through both of those hooks. Okay, should be getting a little easier, but let's try one more. Here's our next stitch on our chain. Here's the double crochet with the V on top of it. Insert your hook here, find the corresponding one. So it kind of jumps out at you right here. You want to slide your hook underneath. If you want to check, here's the corresponding stitch here on this side. Keeping your yarn pulled towards your hand so that it keeps this yarn going in that direction. You want to grab the yarn, keeping your hook downward, and pull it through all of those strands of yarn. And now you have 2 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and pull through 2. All right, let's go to the next one. Slide under the V stitches, slide under that V stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. When you are stitching these and your stitch count is correct, and you have the correct number of stitches all the way across, once you've done 3 or 4 at the beginning, all these others should line up quite nicely, okay? All right, let's go again. Insert under this V, insert under this V, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through. Okay. insert here, tilt your project, insert here, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops. Okay, let's try it again. Insert here, find your corresponding, insert here. You see that? All right. Pull through all 4, 2 loops on the hook, pull through both loops. All right, so let's finish up this row. I'll crochet along with you and we'll get to the end and I'll show you how to jump to the next 2 squares, okay? Now at this point, as you can see, mine looks like the other one's longer than this one. It's just kind of an optical illusion, but I know that my stitches are correct on both of these and they're going to line up perfectly here in just a moment. Okay, let's keep going. Insert under the stitch, insert under the corresponding stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. Insert under this stitch, insert under the corresponding stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. All right, last stitch, insert here, corresponding stitch, insert here, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops. And now we're at our corner space on both sides and you're just going to do it one more time. Insert into the corner space, yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Okay, so now we have attached 1 square, and these will lay forward. Later on you can just kind of play with it and it'll stand up. Okay, all right, so we've got the one attached here, you can see. Right here where we're going to attach this square and this next square. I'm going to attach all of these together. So like we did before, we have our front side and our front side. We want to lift it up and flip this one to the back side and lift this one to the back side, and then we're going to line them up at the corner just like that. Okay, so now our corner spaces are lined up. Okay, so all we're going to do is insert our hook into this corner space and into the corresponding corner space. We're going to grab our yarn and pull it through the hole, the little corner space there. We'll have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops. Okay, again, don't get it too tight. Just nice and snug is all you need to do, but not too tight, so that these squares, once you are finished, will lay down side by side to one another. Okay, so now that we've got these next 2 attached, we're going to do the same thing that we did along the first one, okay, the first pair. All right, we're going to find our first stitch here. This is our first double crochet. We're going to insert our hook underneath that first stitch. We're going to find the corresponding stitch, the corresponding double crochet on this side, which is right there, if you can see it. Okay, this white's a little hard, but you can see as I wiggle up under there, you should be able to see the 4 loops on the hook. Okay. Okay, so let's grab our yarn back again. We're going to yarn over. We're going to pull through, and we'll have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops. Okay? All right. Again, insert under the next stitch, insert under the corresponding stitch, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay. Once again, we're in our 3rd stitch now, our 3rd one. Find the top, insert. This is the 3rd stitch on the other side right here. You want to find this top right here. You're going to insert your hook underneath that, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through. Okay, so our last stitch is going to be into this corner space. Again, just like we did before, you're going to insert into the corner space, find the corresponding corner space on the back, insert a hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over. Okay, so if you get to this edge on any of your squares and they don't line up, say you're in this stitch and this one back here is in the corner, what you need to do is you'll need to pull all of this out and just give it a little tug, and all of that will come out. You want to give it a tug, and I would go ahead and go all the way to the end, at least to here. And 2 things may have happened. One, you may have missed a stitch, possibly a stitch back here, or you've gone into a stitch twice, and that happens, can be really easy to happen here on this back side. They're a little harder to see. Or possibly you've skipped a whole stitch somewhere, maybe in one of these rows. You've skipped a stitch and you only had 2. So if you find that you've got a problem, just pull it out until you find out where you've messed up, and then restitch it, and everything should line back up. If perhaps that you've missed a stitch, say you only had 2 stitches here instead of 3, so that you don't have 3 of these little tops, what I would do is wherever you've missed a stitch, I would put 2 stitches into 1 V. And let me show you how to do that. Okay, so what we need to do is just kind of increase and fudge it a little bit. Okay, so let's pretend I only have these 2 stitches and I'm supposed to have 3, okay? But on this side, I've got all 3. All right, so we're going to pretend that stitch is not there, okay? So we're only going to work with these 2. So what I would do is whatever cluster you've missed a stitch on, you would start by inserting your hook in underneath the stitch and into the corresponding stitch and pull through, okay? You're going to yarn over and pull through. Now, this is the stitch we have here, and we have the corresponding one here, okay? We're still pretending. Insert, insert, yarn over, and pull through, okay? Pull through both loops. Okay, but this stitch, we're going to pretend this stitch is missing, that I totally forgot to put this stitch in and it's missing, okay? So I'm not going to have that here. It's going to be this stitch attached here. So this whole section would be missing, all right? So what I would do is I would either go back into this one, insert my hook here, but find where that stitch was supposed to be over on this side. So I've gone back in, I've got back into this stitch here, right where I was before, okay? You're going to go here, but you're going to find the 3rd stitch on this side because that's where your stitch was supposed to be. So you're going to go into that 3rd stitch, grab it, yarn over, and make your adjustment, okay? So again, we're pretending this is not there. And then we would go on to the next stitch, okay? and that would line everything back up again as you go along, okay? I hope that made some sense. If it doesn't, please comment, and I will be glad to try to better explain that. Maybe I'll make another video and do a sample, okay? All right, so let's, I'm gonna let you finish up this section. We're gonna go all the way across until we get back to our little corner, and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so we're back at our corner again, and we're going to make our last stitch into the corner right here. Find the corner on the other side, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull up, close both of those loops. Okay, so now we've got to jump the gap again, because now we're going on to 2 more squares. Okay, so we've got right side and right side here. We're going to flip this up to our back side. We're going to flip this one up to the back side, and we're going to lay them together and line up our corners. Okay. All right, so we're going to line everything up again. We're going to go into those corner space, go into the other corner space, grab our yarn, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on your hook. And just remember not to make that too tight. All right, so let's start a few stitches here and get you going. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to keep going across the row until you have gotten all of your squares attached across your row. That's left to right. And once you have completed that, I'll meet you at the very end, and I'll show you how to tie off your yarn. Okay, now that we've gotten all the way across our row, our last stitch goes into a corner. Okay, and now we're finished. So what we want to do is we want to chain 1 and then cut our yarn. All right, pull your yarn through, give it a little pull to tighten it up, and that row is done. Okay, so now that all of your rows are complete, what we need to do is attach or go down our columns. So now I'm going to teach you how to do the columns and jump over this little bump right here. You get to the next one, whoops, jump over that bump. But anyway, so let's get started. Grab your yarn that you chose. We're going to make a slip stitch or slip knot. Okay, and we're going to do this the same way. We're going to lift up one of the corners and kind of flip it up to the wrong side, and we're going to have the other one flipped up, also wrong side to wrong side. Okay, and just the same way as we did the rows to start, we're going to insert our hook in the corner spaces, replace our slip knot back onto our hook, and snug it down a little bit. Okay, hold on to the end. See where I'm holding my tail, and I'm going to pull it through that corner space. All right, so I'm going to do a slip stitch, yarn over and pull it through, and then I'm going to do my first single crochet. So I'm going to insert, pull up a loop, 2 loops on my hook, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, now we're going to stitch just the same way as we did before. We're going to stitch all the way across till we get to our next corner. Okay, so we're at our final stitch before we get to our corner. So let me complete it. Okay, so what you'll need to do is you'll need to kind of roll this back a little bit so that you can see your corner space there. You're just going to do as before. You're going to insert your hook into both sides or both squares of the corner, yarn over and pull up a loop, okay, and just complete your single crochet there. And all we're simply going to do is jump over this ridge here, which are these other single crochets that we did along the rows. We're just going to jump over and straight into the next corner space. So insert into that space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull up a loop. And as you can see, you have jumped that space. Here's your stitch on one side and then the stitch on the other, okay? And that's really all you have to do. You just want to continue going down your column until you get to the end, and then trim and tie off your yarn once you complete this column. All right, we'll see you back in just a few minutes. Okay, this is a problem that maybe you will encounter, and it has to do with the knots that you make when you are closing up your rounds on your square. This chain 3 space, you've made your knot here and then you've woven in your ends. Sometimes it's hard to see where this top V is on these stitches. They kind of hide because they get a little bit disfigured, I guess. So I wanted to show you how to fix that, especially when your other side looks perfect. There's your V here, there's a V there, and there's a V there. Okay, let me stick hook under. So you've got this V right there. You've got this one here, and this one here, okay? But on this side, you have, like I said, you've got this space right here that just looks a little bit wonky. It's really hard to see where the V's are, and so it's hard to see where you need to insert your hook, okay? So when I completed this stitch here, the next stitch was pretty obvious, and this is this last double crochet, and then you can clearly see the V stitch that would have went into this next one, okay, which really is the top. It's considered now the top of this chain 3 that we did when we were making our squares, okay? So you want to insert there. You insert your hook here, and the corresponding one should be lined up here, okay? So you would yarn over and then you would pull through, okay? The next one, however, should be right around in this area because there's our next double crochet. But if you look at the top just looks a little bit odd because of this little knot right here. And you've got where you pulled your yarn down in order to weave it in. So you've made this really funky little area here. It makes it really hard to see. All right, let's move along. Okay, so we're going to go into this first one that I said was still pretty easy to see. This one lines right up with it, okay? We're going to yarn over and pull it through, and we're going to make our single crochet, okay? All right, so now we get to the funky one, the really weird looking one. This is the stitch we just went into right here. This chain 3, and that's the stitch. The next stitch is this double crochet, but it has the knot. If you're looking at your double crochet, and that's it right here, okay? When you tilt it, I know the light is not real friendly with this white, but you can kind of see a very odd looking V right here, okay? At the bottom of it is like a little baby V, but it's part of the knot. And this section here is the yarn that's going down the back in order to be weaved in, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to find this kind of half looking little V. You're going to put your, oops, let's grab our yarn, okay? We're going to put our hook through it, and sometimes they get a little tight, so you may have to give it a little wiggle, okay? And your yarn will stretch, and your hook should go straight into it, okay? It may take a little pushing, but it'll go through there. Now you can pick up the corresponding stitch on the other side, which is still quite obvious. It's this one here, okay? And now you have your two stitches. You're going to yarn over and pull through. Again, I had to wiggle just a little bit because it wanted to get stuck. All right, now I know that gap looks large, but it's okay. We're going to cover it up with this single crochet. All right, now it's the very last double crochet is here. Okay, there's your last one right there. We went into the top of it. Okay, let's show you. That's your double crochet. We're going to go into the top of that one. Find the corresponding one on the other side right there. Okay, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, complete your single crochet. And now you should be at your gap for your corner. All right, insert into the gap, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through both loops. Now you've got your single crochet in your corner space here. And here is your row of single crochets that you did to join the rows, okay? And right on the other side, you can see the chain space, all right? So insert into the chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, and complete your single crochets, okay? And then you can see, like I said, sometimes you got to roll this little part back and forth, but you can see I've got a single crochet here in this chain space and a single crochet here on the other space. And when you look back where this kind of thick area was, where your knots were, that does look like it's a little bit bigger, but in the long run, you will probably never notice anything like that. And you are going to probably come across this because everywhere that you have made a knot and then woven in your ends, you're gonna see something like that. You just kind of make do, push the hook in where you think it might be, and keep going along on the row. And like I said, you won't notice that in the long run. Okay, so right now I'm going to let you work all the way down your column, and I will meet you at the end of this column. I'll show you how to knot it off, and then we'll move on to the next. All right, I'm coming up to the end of our column. Just putting these last few stitches in. Give me a moment. And last one into the chain 2 space. Okay, now I'm going to make a chain, pull up my yarn, and snip it off. And pull this through. Okay, so you want to do that all the way across to all of your columns so that when you're finished, your blanket look a little like this. Okay, so your blankets should be looking like this with your columns and your rows all completed. So what we need to do is go ahead and weave in all of our ends before we get started with our border. Okay, so you want to grab your yarn needle, just a large eye needle with the blunt end. As you can see, these little stitches, because they're sitting on top of the white, they look a little bit airy. They've got holes through them. You've got the white going on there. It's not really a good idea to weave in a different color into white because it shows real easy. So what the heck do you do with this? Okay, I'm going to show you real quick. First of all, let's flip this over and let's look at the back side. As you can see, the bottom side of all of those single crochets look kind of like that. So you would not want to weave in just under here, because then you will see the little, just like you can see this needle making kind of a stripe, that yellow piece of yarn is going to make that same stripe, and it's not going to look very good for your whole blanket if it gets flipped over this way. Okay, so what do you do? All right, let me show you. Let's go up here to where you've knotted off. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Okay, so what I typically do is I'm going to go under these stitches here. But what I'm going to do, and I don't know if you can see that, is I'm going to catch just a little bit of the white. Okay, so I'm going to catch just maybe that much of the white. So you're not seeing it and you're not pulling it, but when I go under the yellow here, I'm going to catch just a tiny bit of white. Can you see? There's only a little bit. I did not go deep so that you can see the needle through the end, but you just want to go just under the yellow and pick up just a little bit of the white on top. Okay, then you want to go under the next two yellows and you want to pick up just a little bit of that white. All right, go under the next two yellow ones and pick up just a little bit of the white. And as you're going, when you go under the two pieces of yellow, you can kind of work your needle back and forth, and you can feel when you've caught a little bit of that white. And you just kind of want to keep working down till you've got to push it through, okay? And see, if you flip over this way, you can't see the needle coming through this back side at all right? And you can't see it on this side. You're only seeing it on this side, but if you can tell where my needle's at, you can see how each of these little spaces looks like white. Now I didn't catch any right there, that's okay. We're just going to keep moving on, but you can see I just barely, if you can see the little sparkle of my yarn needle, you can just barely see that I've caught just a little bit of the white. All right, so you want to pull that through, and we're not going to go back and forth this time. We're just going to keep going along because we've got a nice little knot right there. Okay, all right, so this is where I've exited under this stitch. So again, I want to catch just a little bit of the white. Okay, see that much, just a little bit there on the top. Okay, go under the yellows and kind of grab some of the white as you're going along. Keep going, grab a little bit more of the white as you go along. Okay, you see how I've come out right there, and I'm going to grab just a little bit of that white. See how I'm working the needle kind of back and forth just to pick up a little bit of that white. I'm going to keep going, okay, until I have to push the needle out again because it's gotten too short. And if you can see, I'm having to really give it a tug. It's because I'm working this piece of yarn underneath all of these white stitches, or through parts of the white stitches. You can see the yellow right there. Just give it a little tug, not too much. You don't want to pull this, but that little bit of yellow right there showing is not a big deal. It's going to kind of blend right in. Okay, now if you were going through down here and your yellow was showing a lot down here, then you may see that. But we just want to keep going, doing that same thing. So right here where my yarn came out, right there under these two stitches here, these two legs of this stitch, I want to go back in and I want to go under this next leg of this next stitch, get a little closer so you can see. I'm going to grab just a little bit of the white right there. Okay, and I'm going to keep going, just working the needle kind of an up and down, like you're scooping as you go across. You just keep it kind of a scooping feel, and you will feel it passing through some of those strands. Okay, go as far as your needle will allow and give it a pull. Again, it gets a little tight, and that's good. It means that that's not going anywhere. You don't want to make a knot here. Pull my tail back out. Okay, so there you go. All right. And I go pretty much as far as my needle tail will allow me to go. All right, let's do that again. This is where my yarn is coming out from under the stitch. This is a leg and a leg of the single crochet above it. All right, we want to keep going in that same direction this way. So grab you up just a little bit of that yarn, okay? Now I'm going to show you, I'm not going through the other side. You can't see me on the other side, all right? So there's no sparkle of my yarn needle, okay? All right, so you're just going to keep that kind of scooping motion as you scoop along. You want to stay underneath the yellow and just scoop a little bit of that white and just keep going along as far as your needle will allow you, okay? And push through and pull it out the other side. See, it's pulling right here. That happens. What you need to do is just hold it on the other side. Can you see what I'm doing here? And just gently pull it and just keep pulling your yarn needle until you get it to come. Work it out. Boy, I worked it under there, didn't I? Oh, there we go. Giving me a little trouble. All right, so that's normal. It happens. Make sure that you get this whole tail pulled in right there. Okay, so that's pretty much it, and I'm almost at my my corners here, so I don't really want to keep going past that. So I'm going to stop right here. As you can see, that's come out about halfway of that white piece. So I'm just going to grab up underneath here so it goes through the yellow. All right, and pull that through easily. Grab your scissors and give it a snip. Again, being careful not to snip your stitches, then you'll be in a mess. All right. Okay, so you'll want to just continue doing that and weave in all of your ends, okay, way down your blanket until all of them are gone, and then we'll start on the border. Okay, see you in a few minutes. Okay, so you should have completed your joins along your rows and along your columns, and now we're going to get started on our border. I'm going to be using the same color on my border just because I think it looks nice. It also helps put that same yellow along this edge, so it kind of completes the pattern. So what we're going to do is find a space and start our join. All right, let me zoom in for you. Okay, to begin our join on our sides, you just need to find a stitch where you want to begin. I don't typically like to start in a corner. I do like to find, when I'm doing granny squares, I like to find the first little space and I'll join into that stitch. All right, we're going to start this just like we started every other round with our slip knot that we removed from our hook. We're going to go into a stitch and not necessarily the space. So this is our space, but this little V here on top, that's our stitch, and that's where we want to work all of these on our border, is into the stitch. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your hook, go into your the stitch underneath the V. You're going to replace your slip knot onto your hook, right like that. You're going to pull that loop through, hold on to that knot, get your knot right back here so you don't pull the knot all the way through. Okay, so you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through, and that's a slip stitch. So for our first round on our border, we're going to be working half double crochets. So we need to work a half double crochet back into this space. This is much different than when we started our joins where we chained up. A half double crochet is kind of in between a single and a double, so we don't really need to chain too much here. So I'm just going to leave this slip knot as my chain, okay? So this is the way it starts. So you've got your slip knots secured. You're going to yarn over and going back into that same space, insert your hook, yarn over, pull it back through that space. Now there are 3 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and pull through all 3, okay? That does look a little bit funny for the first one, but as we go along, you'll see that it's going to blend right in, and when we get back to this starting point and join, there won't be any issue at all, okay? So now what we're going to do is we need to work a half double crochet into every stitch across until we get to a corner, okay? Let's do our next one. We're going to yarn over, we're going to insert into the stitch, right under the stitch, okay? See that? We're going to yarn over, pull it back through, so we have 3 stitches on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. All right, let's do that again. Yarn over, go into the stitch, which is here, right here. Yarn over, pull it back, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, and pull through. All right, there we go, we got our first 3. All right, yarn over, go into your stitch, yarn over, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Again, yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Okay. Yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. All right, I'm going to let you work that all the way across until you get to a corner. And then I'm going to show you how you turn your corner. This is going to be interesting here. I forgot I needed to tell you this. Okay, so here is what was a corner space. And this is another corner space. So what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over, go into this space, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay, now this is something I do. You certainly don't have to do it, but I do it because I think it looks prettier than just going straight across with a half double here and a half double here. It seems to make kind of a gappy opening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that gap with the stitch, okay? I know that sounds complicated, but I promise you it's not. And when you move straight over, I'll just show you. When you go straight over and make your half double, that makes this really kind of weird space here. And I personally don't like it. Okay, so I'm going to remove that stitch. Just pull gently and it'll come right out. We're going to make a half double crochet into this first single crochet, okay? So if you will roll this over so that you can see the V's of the stitches, you can see this first V right here from this single crochet rib that you did to make your join, okay? All right, so bear with me. It's not hard or complicated. You can do it. All right, so our next half double crochet, the first one's in the chain 2 space. We're going to yarn over and we're going to insert our hook underneath the first stitch. Okay, can you see the little V that we've got right there? All right, you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through. You've got 3 loops on your hook, just like normal. You're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 3. And that extends it so that it looks like it blends right into the into your border. You're going to yarn over, go into the next chain 2 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay. All right. Let me crochet along this edge. Let me complete these stitches, and when we get to the next rib right here, the next ridge of single crochets, I will show you how to do this again. Okay, I'm coming up onto that funny space again. I need to put a half double crochet into this stitch, half double crochet into the chain 2 space, and a half double crochet into the very first single crochet of this join that we did. Okay, so yarn over, insert right up underneath those two sides of the V. We're going to yarn over, pull it through, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then a half double crochet into the next chain 2 space, and a half double crochet into every stitch along the side. Okay, so if you need to see that again, just rewind the film, and I will meet you when we get done with this side so I can show you how to turn a corner. Okay, I have seen a problem. I skipped a stitch, and this may be something that you'll encounter because it's easy to skip this stitch because it kind of hides from you. Okay, so I've just crossed over this little this ridge, and I've made a half double crochet into this corner. By looking at it, you would think you would go straight into this one, but no, you've actually missed a stitch, and that's this first double crochet. As you can see, the V on top is kind of hiding under this little guy here. So if you pull him over, there he is. Oop, can you see that? Can you see how well you can see that stitch now? So just remember that when you jump over this ridge and half double crochet into the space, not to miss this first double crochet. Okay, all right, so let's do our half double crochet here and half double crochet there. Okay, see you at the end. Okay, I'm coming up to my corner. Let me put in these last 2 stitches. Okay, you want to do your half double crochets all the way up to this chain 2 space. Now before, every round that we did 3 chain 2 and 3 stitches, every single one. Well, this is different. We want these corners to be smaller and a little bit more compact so that our blanket has a nice squared off effect when you have a little bit tighter corner. Okay, so how we work these, we're going to yarn over, we're going to go into the space, and we're going to make a half double crochet like we've been doing. So we got 1, and we want to do a second one, so that's 2. Okay, we're going to yarn over and chain 1, just 1, and we're going to do 2 more half double crochets into this space. Okay, now it looks way different than what we've been doing. We've had these rather large spaces, but as we work our border, you're going to see that this just makes a nice, little bit more compact, a little tighter corner. Okay, so again, when you come up to your chain 2 space in your corner, you're going to do 2 half double crochets, chain 1, and 2 half double crochets. Okay, so that's 2 half double crochets, chain 1, 2 half double crochets. All right, that's all you need to do as we turn our corner. The only other thing that I need to remind you of is this little hidden stitch right here. I always want to make sure that you get that little hidden stitch because it'll throw the count of the other rows off if you miss it. Okay, so just be sure that you kind of scooch everything into a corner so that you can see your first double crochet, and then you're able to see the top of that stitch. Okay, so yarn over, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Okay, so that is our little teeny little corner right there. Okay. All right, so work that all the way around until you get back to where we joined, and I'll see you there. Now that we're back to our beginning stitches, we want to slip stitch into the top of this first stitch. There you go. We need to chain 1 and half double into that same stitch, and half double crochet into every stitch along all the way around until we get back to this starting point. And at that point we will change colors. Remember that our corners are 2 half double crochets, 1 chain, and 2 half double crochets. All right, see you in a few minutes. All right, so now that we've come around to our beginning, we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first stitch and make a chain. At this point, we want to cut off our yarn and go to a new color. Okay, just like we did before. I'm going to make a slip knot, remove it from our hook, insert our hook into a stitch, put our slip knot back on our hook. We're going to pull it through, and then we're going to slip stitch. Okay, we're going to do the half double crochet on this round. So yarn over, insert into the space, yarn over again, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. Okay. Now you're going to half double crochet into every stitch along until you get to your corner. So that's 2 half double crochets, chain 1, 2 half double crochets in the corner. I plan on making 2 rows of this, possibly 3 rows. I have a tendency of changing my my design as I go. Sometimes things look better on paper than they do in real life, and so I do that. Anyway, but I'm going to make at least 2 rows, possibly 3, and we'll see at the end when we get back around what I've decided to do. Okay, I'll see you in a moment. When you come around your row and you come back to your starting point, you're going to want to slip stitch into the top of this first stitch right here. You're going to yarn over and pull through and slip stitch. Then you'll chain 1 and go around again just the same way. If you decide on a 3rd row, then you would again slip stitch into the first stitch, pull through, chain 1, and if you're done after 2 rows or after 3 rows, then you'll pull your yarn through and cut it. Okay, so I'll see you back when we've completed 2 rows of white. All right, I'm coming up to the end of my 2nd round. You're going to slip stitch into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops, and then you're going to continue with the half double crochet all the way around. Oops. I'm going to do 2 more rows of half double crochet in the white, and then I'm going to finish the blanket. It will, just like we finished our squares when we were finishing a row, we just slip stitched into the first stitch. When we came around, we chained 1 and snipped off our ends, and then we're going to sew in all of our ends, and our blanket will be complete. So I hope that you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And if you have any questions, please comment below, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. And until next time, I hope to see you soon. Have a great day and a great time crocheting your blanket. Bye.